How cool would that be if you could talk to your pet, to your dog, your cat, your horse, whatever you have? Is that really possible? In this video, I'll give you an answer to that. And I also want to give you some tips how you can connect with your animal and how you can start communicating with them. Hi, for those of you who are new here, my name is Maddie. I'm a biologist, an author, and a shamanic practitioner. And on my channel, I talk about shamanism and spirituality in a broader sense and how you can implement shamanic methods into your everyday life to make it more happy and fulfilled. So yeah, I'm a biologist and I specifically studied animal behavior. I was always fascinated how animals behave, and I started with wildcats and then moved on to fish. I was studying rabbits and birds, like all kinds of different animals. But back then I wasn't aware of the fact that, animals have a soul, and that through my own soul, I will be actually able to communicate with them on a soul level. So that was not something that crossed my mind. I was not even, thinking about soul, that I have an own soul, that I have a soul myself. Like that was not something I was aware of. And so how I was communicating with animals was basically I was just observing them, right? For scientific purposes. I collected data, I observed the rabbits in the city center and then the rural area, how they behave, what they did when they came out of the borrow system. But yet, many times I was really thinking to myself, how cool would that be to just ask them, why do they behave like that, right? So as a scientist, I observed them, I collected my data, but basically what I did, I had to kind of assume, why do they do things the way they do? And there's a whole study area, behavioral biology study area about it, that is kind of theorizing and hypothesizing, why do animals behave the way they do? And it's like an inner motivation. Is it because of a physiological reason? It's because of a genetics. Is it inherited? And all these kind of things. And once I started learning about shamanism, the ability or the possibility to talk to the soul of an animal or a plant or a stone opened up, right? And I was like, wait a minute, I can talk to animals just like that? So I couldn't believe it, but I was open and I tried it out and I was amazed on how well it worked. Like in the beginning, it was, almost like I thought I'm losing my mind, because I was looking at my cat and all of a sudden I heard a voice in my head. Right? And you will think like, wow, now I'm hearing voices. I think I'm done now. But it was really like a conversation with my cat. And it felt so easy and natural, and as if I was always talking to them, right? So that was just unbelievable to me. And once I talked about this experience with other people, specifically from the shamanic community, they say, yeah, of course it's possible. If everything has a soul, everything has a spirit, then you can connect from spirit level. You can just talk the spiritual language as you so will. And this is very easy. Everyone can learn it. You just need to be open for it. And so over time, I really practiced that. I developed a very good skill for that as well, I think, because I had that, I had my knowledge from my biology studies, where I know what kind of behaviors do animals have, what are their physiology, how do they work. But then on the other hand, I could talk to them. And I have 2 cats now in my home. And, being able to communicate with them on a spiritual level is just amazing, because I never saw my pet just as a pet, they were always part of my family. But really having that conversation with your animal, it's like they're like the coolest friends and guides in your life, and it just makes them so so much closer to us. It brings them so much closer to us and to our everyday life, because they're not only just like, you think, oh, it's just a pet, right? It's not just a pet. They can be your best friends, your teacher, your guide. And once you're able to really talk to them, it is beyond words. It's amazing. I just really, that's why I'm making that video, because many people don't think it's possible. And I was one of them for many, many years. I was even writing a book about communication in nature, how animals and plants communicate with each other. And after the book came out, I was invited for lectures and, like reading out of my book. And so many people ask me, oh, I'm talking to my plants. Can they understand me? Or I'm talking to my cat. Does she understand me? And back then, as I said, I was not aware of the fact that, yeah, they can actually understand you. But I was saying back then, it's like, well, I'm sure they perceive that you're there and your presence, but I mean, they won't understand your words because they can't speak your language, right? But as I said, there is something higher. There is something, another level on everything can understand each other. It's on the soul level, because everything has that high intelligence, universal energy flowing through them. And this is how you connect. And it is really easy. It's just like a conversation without words, I would even say. So for me, the journey of how I really learned it started with my first cat, or like basically my second cat, Arvid. He's a Siberian forest cat. And so we got him as a puppy. And so I started kind of communicating with him. He was not very talkative, I have to say. He's more like the how you say that? My husband compares him with my dad. Like, he's not very social. He doesn't use a lot of words. So it's actually quite funny. But I at the beginning, it was just a few words that I got from him, But over time, I felt like when, for example, he was away a bit longer for a couple of days, and I was so worried, and I in my mind, I was like, Arvid, where are you? And I immediately got the answers like, don't worry, I'm coming home, I'm okay. And I was like, wow, did I just really, was that him? And I did that a couple of times. It was really for me like collecting data. The scientists came out here. I was like, wait a minute. So let's see if that's really something that is working. So every time I got a message, I wrote that down. Every time I was communicating with him, I kind of noted what was the conversation about and what was the result. And every time I was right. Every time I was right. For example, when I asked him, are you coming home? And then he's like, yeah, tonight. And then he was there tonight. Or one time actually was as creepy as it sounds, but he said, I'm coming home, but I have a scratch. Don't freak out. It looks bad, but it's not that bad. So he came home and he had like a huge, like a hole under his eye, as like, another cat probably caught him with a claw, and it looked horrible. But within a couple of days, he was fine again, just as he said, and so on and so forth. Like, there was so much about this, and I can endlessly tell stories about how I was communicating with him. Just one more example how to show you how it really works. And I'm telling you, everything I'm saying here is the truth. I'm not making anything of this up. So then I felt like maybe he's a bit lonely, So I did the communication with him, and he said, yeah, a cat lady, a friend lady, a cat lady, a girlfriend lady. What is that? Like a girlfriend cat would be amazing. And I was like, Arvid, I don't know your taste. I don't know where to get like a girlfriend for you, right? So, and in these cases where I think it's very important to, get the information right, I actually was asking someone else to do the communication with Arvid again. And she also got the information that Arvid said, I would like to have a friend, like a girlfriend, a female friend. And so that lady, the other person that did the communication with Arvid, she said what she saw was like a cat that had like kind of red fur, but was very fluffy. Also had like a white belly. She was 1 year younger than Arvid. And so I should look out for this kind of cat. I was still like, I don't know, where do I find that kind of cat? I mean, how to find a girlfriend for my cat, the dream girlfriend. It was hard enough to find a partner for myself, for my cat as well. So, well, I was just, every once in a while when I felt like it, I was going through the eBay to see, if there's like people who want to sell their cats, because it was clear for me it has to be an adult cat, not a kitten. And I was specifically looking for a Siberian wild cat, a Siberian forest cat, because Arvid is the same. Like Arvid is a forest cat, and my husband has some allergies against cat, and with that breed, he's pretty much okay. So one day I found a picture of two cats. There was one male cat and a female cat, and the female looked exactly like the cat that my friend talked about it, or that the animal communicator talked about it. But in the announcement, they said we only give them as a pair. And I thought, like, well, I can't take another male. He was not asking for a threesome. So, but I felt, well, just give it a try. I'll call her and say, listen, I'm interested in the female, but not in the male. But would you be willing to separate them? And she was like, actually don't, but somehow she said, well, just maybe you just come by and have a look at her if you want to. So I went there, and I immediately fell in love with her. She was such a cute cat, very outgoing, but you also felt that she was an indoor cat for 2 years. That was also the reason they wanted to get rid of her, because she had many behavioral problems. Was peeing all over the place. She was annoying them a lot. And so I felt, she needed to come with me. She needed to be in a place where she can go outside in the forest and just enjoy herself. And yeah, so I went there a second time, and I was discussing this with my husband. He was not so engaged by that idea. He thought like Arvid will be fine on his own. And it was a big risk, because bringing two adult cats together, if they don't come along, it can can get ugly. And then for everyone, it's not a good thing. Then you have to bring the second cat back and all that. So it was a huge risk I kind of took. I felt for myself, and but I don't know. I had that feeling that it's going to be okay. They will be okay. So then I brought her home, and she had a completely different rhythm than Arvid has. I did the whole cat fusion. How you say that? Like, making him familiar step by step. I really took my time. I really made my homework to know how to do it proper, so that they are not scared on each other, that they have only positive experiences with each other. And I have to say that was also really cool for me as a behavioral biologist to see how they behave. Once they met the first time, I kept them separated only through like a gate thingy where they could only see themselves. And so we were feeding them only a couple minutes every day, so they got used to each other. And over time, it was actually quite okay. At the beginning, I felt definitely I was annoyed by her, because she was sleeping during the night and she was awake at the daytime. And since he was an outdoor cat, he came home in the morning, was totally tired and, totally done. And he just wanted to sleep. All he wanted to do was sleeping. And she tried to play with him and engage with him. And he was like, ugh. So when I did another talk with him, the communication also with another communicator, he said like, well, that's not her. I don't want her. She's annoying. And I was like, Arvid, now she's here. What I'm going to do with her? But things were changing dramatically once Fiona, so that's the name of my female cat, Fiona was able to go outside. So because she now started to go outside, she changed completely her behavior. She became the most chilled cat in the world, the sweetest girl ever. Like, I think if they would see her now, the previous owners who gave her away because she was too annoying, they wouldn't realize that that's the same cat. She is just amazing. And she loves it so much being outside now. And she's changed her behavior, also her rhythm. Now she's also outside nighttime and she comes home in the morning. And now they're together for two years. And if you see them, you can just see like they're like an old couple. It is so funny. And it just showed me that, it took a bit of time and it took some risk and also a lot of, I say like, it was very annoying in the beginning, very stressful for me and my husband to put them together and not knowing what will happen. But eventually it worked out and now they're all happy. They're very happy with themselves as well as a couple together. And they enjoy themselves. I can see them outside. They're going outside together. They're coming home outside together. And they're just the cutest, the cutest couple together. And they're all happy now. Both of them are really, really happy cats. And without communication, I would have never been able to, do all these steps, find the right cat, bring them the way together, keep going. Although, the outside looked like they don't become good friends. But I don't know, my feeling just said like, keep going, it will change. So just being able to tune into your intuition as well as communicate not only with your own soul, but also with the soul of an animal or plant or whatever, can help you to make decisions that really bring things back into balance. With Fiona, she was not in balance. She was in a place where she was not happy. She was not an indoor cat. So I was able to help her or, bring her to a place where she feels not much better now. And with her, there was also so much more stories. Like, I think there was also a reason why she came to us, because I communicate with her a lot. She's way more talkative than Arvid. She almost every time she talks and, she communicates a lot. She gives out a lot of information about what she's done during the night and how she feels and how much she likes it here. And she's just the cutest. But what happened, it was very, very weird. That's another story I want to tell you. That video might probably be a bit longer, but for all of you guys who listen to cat stories, you might enjoy that a lot. So with Fiona, it was, she originally came from a breeder that is not far from here where I'm right now. So I picked her up in Leipzig, which is 1.5 hours away from here, from her own owner. But originally she was from a breeder that is only 15 minutes from where I'm living right now. And my neighbor, she wanted to also have forest cats. So I agreed to help her find kittens, and just to check out breeders and say, well, that's good or that's not so good. So we went to a place where they had Norwegian forest cats. And now I say Norwegian because Fiona is actually a Norwegian forest cat. She's not a Siberian. That's another thing. They advertised her as a Siberian forest cat. And this is how I, became, I found her. Otherwise, I would have not clicked on the announcement because I was looking for a Siberian forest cat, not for a Norwegian. And so when I brought her home, my husband looked at her. It's like, she is not a Siberian. She looks like a Norwegian forest cat. So I called the previous owner and said, I think she's not Siberian. And she's like, no, she's a Norwegian forest cat. Didn't I mention that? And I was like, no, you didn't. So that was like, oh, okay. Well, now she's here. I don't care about the breed. Really, I don't. It was just more about my husband because he had issues with other breeds. But thank God he was okay with her and her fur and all that. So that was not a big issue. But we visited that one breeder for Norwegian forest cats, and I looked at the place. It was awful. The way he treated the cats, it was horrible. Later on, I was reporting him to make sure that he gets closed down because it was an awful place. There were so many little cats in his basement. It was stinky. It was dirty. All the toys were worn out. The cat trees. It looked horrible. The cats, the kittens were not socialized. They were completely fearful of humans, and he wanted to have 600 euros for these Norwegian forest cats. It was beyond words. But I looked around and I saw that one cat, and she had the same color. It's a very distinct color that Fiona has. It's called amber smoke. So she's brownish. It's like a cinnamon swirl almost and she has these swirls in her fur, the curlies and the whirls, something it's really weird. And there was a cat who looked exactly like her, as well as there was a male cat who had this distinct pattern in the fur, just like she had. And I looked at my neighbor and it's like, look at them. They look a lot like Fiona. They could be Fiona's parents, right? And so when I came home, I looked into her vaccination, what is that, passport? Yeah. And there was a stamp from that person. So it happened to be he was a veterinarian, so he also vaccinated his own kittens, and so I saw his name in that vaccination passport, and I knew that my Fiona, she came from that place. And all of a sudden, so many things became clear to me. When she came to us, she was so afraid of male feet, when my husband had boots on and he passed her, she was hissing at him and she was really scared. I was like, what happened to her? As if someone must have kicked her or something, right? And then she was she only wanted to have the kibbles, the pressed hard food kibbles. And it took me a long time to take her, like to bring her to wet food. And so that person told us that he gives only the kittens the dry food. So there were so many things that I was like, wait a minute, I think she grew up there at that place. And that I grabbed her and I felt so sorry for her. I was crying when I had her in my hand, and now when I'm talking about it, I actually feel the cry coming back, because I realized what she must have gone through as a little kitten, growing up in that area with this man who was obviously abusing the cats. The way he treated them was horrible. And the way it looked was horrible. It was not nice. And I just hold her, and I felt her. Yeah, you say that, like, her emotions. And I allowed her to let these emotions run through me so that eventually she can let go of it. And it was, there were no words. It was just really, I told her, Fiona, whatever it is that you need to let go of, we can do this together. And you guys can see it's still very touchy to me, because that was a moment I will never forget. I hold her and she was crying. So I hold her, and she was crying through me. And it took moments and minutes, and I was just holding her. And it was such an intimate moment with her. Sorry, I need to make breaks here. I want to finish that story, and it has a happy end. Just that part was really, really, really sad, to feel that. As well as there were so many emotions that she told me she couldn't understand why her previous owner was giving her away. Like, she was adopted by that lady when she was a kitten. She was raised by her. She even had, Fiona had kittens herself with that previous owner. And so she told me, like, she couldn't understand why she was not allowed in her home anymore. And it was really, really painful for her. So there was a lot of healing work we did together. And I tell you that story just to show you that our animals do have a soul life. They experience emotions and dramatic things in her life just as we do. And we should never forget about it. Like, whenever we treat animals, we have to be so careful. We have to be, treating them with the most love that we can have. Because they experience the world not just like us. I mean, they have their own way to experience that. But they do have that spiritual aspect within them that makes them experience the world as intensely as we do. And this is a big, big message that I want to bring out there, that, it's just not a tree, it's just not a stone, or it's just not an animal. We are all family. We all share that universal life energy within us, that through that we can connect, through that we can heal, we can support each other, and we can balance things out that that have become an imbalance. And I also believe that, maybe these things happen for a reason, although it's hard for me to believe why, an animal has to go through pain and suffering, just as we humans do. But maybe with you as well, you realize whenever you had a very stressful situation in life or a suffering, that when things got better, you were so thankful for your life, right? And that's what I feel with Fiona. She is so thankful for being here with us now and having her life. Whenever I let her out and I can see her running, into the forest, and she jumps like a little squirrel from tree to tree, and she's just so happy. And I think she enjoys it even more than Arvid does to be an outside cat, because for a long time she was not able to be outside. She didn't have that experience, as well as she didn't have a place where she felt she was completely accepted and not rejected, where she can be herself now. And also, I was helping her through these emotions to really let go of it. And the last time I talked to her, or every time I talk to her now, whether it's me or I have also a friend who's an animal communicator who does the communication for me, for my cats, because once you're very close to your cats, sometimes you're not sure if it's something you think they're saying, or it's just because you want to hear it. So I always have someone external. But every time now we talk to her, she is just the most happiest cat in the world. She brings so much joy. You can feel she's light. She has beautiful energy to her. And, she is one of the biggest gifts in my life that I got from this universe. So, yeah, so that's why I wanted to end that story on a high note. So, yeah, all my cats are very happy. And I am very happy, very, very thankful for discovering this skill and gift to be able to communicate with animals. I think everyone can do it. Everyone can learn it. You just need to be open for the possibility that it is possible. And it is possible because everything has a spirit. Everything is connected to that spirit. And we can kind of, telepathically communicate with everything around us. And imagine, understanding your animal. What are their needs? What do they want? What do they need? What are their gifts? Why are they with you? There's always a reason for that. Will understand them so much better once you also open yourself up to that aspect of your relationship with your pet or any other animals. So yeah, that was very emotional. I still feel like crying. But yeah, as I said, it was very important for me to make that video to talk about this and also give you that example or that story about my own cats, how animal communication helped me to bring all the pieces together and just enable or just make a life possible for my cats where they're just as happy as they can be. And now I want to give you some tips how you can start communicating with your animal. So the first thing is that, before you can receive anything, you have to make sure that you are a receiver and that you are not full with other stuff, because then you can't really perceive your animal. So that's why I'm always recommending to first make yourself familiar with the method of meditation. So you can start with just, having a chair and sitting on the chair, most like trying not to lean on it, but just go a little bit more on the edge of the chair. And then you have your legs on a 90 degree to really put your feet on the floor, to really ground yourself and feel that strong position that you have. You open yourself up, you make yourself long, your spine is elongated, and then you close your eyes. And you're focusing on your breath. You can count your breath if that's something that's helpful for you. The main goal here is to be in the moment and to really be present. And you will realize, if that's the first, if you've never done this before, that all of a sudden all the thoughts come into your mind. It's like, oh, I can't do this. Oh, this is so boring. Oh, I don't know if I'm doing this right. This is completely normal. Don't worry about it. It will go away, that mind chatter, the more you practice this and the longer you do it. But for the beginning, I recommend not more than 5 minutes or, 10 minutes to just get started and not get frustrated because you realize like this is actually pretty hard to just sit like that and not do anything. And I actually prefer to sit on a little cushion that I'm on the floor, and then I have my knees crossed. So I really like to be more on the floor with that stuff. And that gives you the foundation for being grounded, being present, and to be able to really get in connection with your animal. And then so the second step can be that you are going to your pet. If you don't have a pet, you can also do that with a wild living animal. If you go outside and there's like a bird or a squirrel, that you can do the same thing. And you are trying to connect with your animal through emotions. That's actually a nice way to do it. Emotions, energy in motion, like that, you think about something that you might experience that with that animal, with your pet, that you had something that you did together where you felt a lot of joy, and you can think about the situation and really feeling the joy in your body. Also being grateful for having your animal in your life, and then you can see how it's radiating, or well, you can't see it, but you can feel it, that this positive emotion is really leaving your body, and it's like going into the room, and it will absolutely affect also your animal. They might have a reaction. Maybe they look up to you, or they start moving, standing up, or they will come to you. So you probably see already that they, realize that you try to connect with them on that very deep, deep level. Also being thankful and sharing that appreciation for them. And another practice I like also to do is that you try to see the world from your animal's perspective. And for that, you can also be in a meditative position and close your eyes and then ask for, I would like to see the world from the view of my animal. And then I always see it like that, you know, I'm going into the head of my cats, and then like I'm sitting in their head, and I can see the world the way they see it. And that's a very, very connecting way, well, a very nice way to connect with your animal, to kind of try to empathize with them on that level. How do they perceive the world around them? How do they see you and, you know, their home? And this is already something where you can get more familiar with your animal. And then the next step would really be to try to talk to them. Yeah, but this is a little bit more advanced then. I really, you know, I think these 3 steps are something that you can very easily do in the beginning to connect with your animal. Also, if you say, you know, I have something I need to ask my animal, I can't do the communication myself, but I need someone, then you can definitely contact me on my website, madelineseeger.com, where you see there is like one section about booking, and then you can book an online session with me, because animal communication is something that I can very well do over long distance. I need a picture of your animal, and then you tell me the questions that you have, and then I'll communicate with it for you. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.